Welcome back, the Improv Podcast. I'm your host, Zane and today me and my friend Fidler will host an improvised interview with made-up characters played by the other person.
Welcome back. My guest here today is, always blowing up the headlines, as the guests we have here always are, because we don't get no one but the best here on Welcome Back. We're not going to pull some guy off the street who, one person knows. We get the good stuff. Sorry, just had to say that to sort of get that in my producer's face. We have here today on Welcome Back the fast food magnate behind the chain Chunky Burger, which has just been blowing up. There's been places popping up in New York and Boston and cities all over the globe. They're the home of the Chunky Burger Straight Razor Shave, and of reviews all around. People who are trying Chunky Burger say that Chunky Burger is out of this world. And based on some rumors about a possible contract with NASA, that review may have a literal bent in the upcoming months. Please welcome to the program Mr. Chunky Burger himself, Wolfgang Amadeus Chunk.
Thank you for having me, Fidler.
Chunk, exactly. That's the phrase on everybody's mind, and it's the burger in everybody's mouth.
Yes, indeed.
Now, Chunky Burger, home of the Chunky Burger Straight Razor Shave.
Chunky.
Like all, these amazing restaurants that are popping up, these chains, they always have a sort of humble origin story, like the shack that their father ran for 50 years, and then they took that recipe and turned it into an empire. Tell us about the homegrown origins of Chunky Burger.
Well, Chunky Burger, Chunk, as you know, is my last name is Chunk. And when I was thinking of what I'm going to do with my life when I grow up, and I sound like got chunk in my name. I sound fat, and I was thinking, well, if I know I am, and I know you are, but what am I? And then I said that. I practiced that in the mirror a good couple of times in case you couldn't tell. I was messing it up a lot when I was younger, and so I was.
Practice makes perfect, and perfect makes burgers.
And perfect in chunk. And a lot of the time when I was growing up, I would think, I'm hungry. And then I thought, it hit me. Well, so is someone else. And then,
wait, you're saying someone else hit you?
No, someone else was hungry.
Oh, someone else was hungry.
Well, other people did hit me, but that's not the point of the origin story.
Here.
Yes.
Got it. Sorry to
Well, no, if we were talking about other customers, we would talk about people hitting me.
But this is the origin story.
This is the origin story of the
later.
food. Yeah, the food, everyone's hungry from time to time. And I think when I was growing up, I thought, well, my last name's Chunk. I'm hungry. I could make a chunk food. And so I started a little lemonade stand business where I sold lemonade with little chunks of food in it. And
like chunks of lemon or?
Oh, chunks of meat patties and chunks of taco shells and sometimes a little quesadilla in there. I tried to spice it up. It was like a little restaurant, except everyone that ordered something was just ordering lemonade and they did not want food in there, but they got a little chunk. And then they were like, what is this? Chunk? And
Chunkinade.
They would ask, what is this chunk? Because people call me Chunk.
Because that's your last name.
And no.
Am I wrong? Did we get the wrong information?
Chunk. And they would say to me, Tuesdays, on tonight, the show, they would say, because their stomach would hurt so bad from all the food that I put in the lemonade.
From all the chunk in the lemonade.
Yes, the chunky chunk sake.
And from those origins, we came to the Chunk Burger as it is known today.
I would put that same recipe to the test when I was. Oh my God, it hurts. I would put that same.
Are you okay, Mr. Chunk?
Recipe to the test. I don't know if you noticed, but I sound. I've been eating Chunkinade for 25 years, and I gotta keep the brand up, but it's just so hard.
That's, the struggle you put in to keep Chunky Burger at the top of the chain, the food chain, as it were, is really admirable, Wolfgang.
Oh, thank you.
So, now Chunky Burger, as everyone knows, is home of the Chunky Burger Straight Razor Shave. And the food world was really taken by surprise when Chunky Burger was sort of catapulting itself into popularity. Not only did they offer burgers and chunky burgers, but they also had straight razor shaves. And that there was a deal where you could go in and get a burger, and you could also get a straight razor shave from a barber. So what what in your what was the meaning of the ideas in your minds that made you decide to have a sort of place that offered you great chunky food as well as straight razor shaves?
Fat people are hairy, and hairy people are sweaty. And so
Fascinating.
And so I would think, well, if people are coming in and they're so hairy and hungry and sweaty, well, it's going to run business dry, because they're going to think that so many people in here smell so bad, and I know
Absolutely.
it's not me. I'm not coming in here. I'm going to go somewhere that's clean, and I'm going to be the stinky one there. And they don't want to be shown by stank, and so I think if we shave their face, maybe they won't stink as bad.
Exactly. It really is like just a one-stop shop for fat, hairy, sweaty people.
One-stop crop top shop.
One-stop crop top stop chunk. It's fantastic. So maybe you should offer like some sort of shower system there too. You don't think so?
Chunk.
Got it. I'm going to take that as an affirmative. Now, of course, the thing that makes Chunky Burger famous, and the reason people keep going back, is, of course, chunky sauce, which, of course, is on every single meat-based item that Chunky Burger offers.
Even the Chunkinade.
Even the Chunkinade. It's just right in there. Now, what's amazing is that you've sort of tied that into the Chunky Burger Straight Razor Shave, because chunky sauce is not only the key component in your burgers, but it's also used as shaving cream for your straight razor shaves. And food reviewers and artists and scientists have not figured out what it is about chunky sauce that makes it tasty and safe for human consumption, but also allows it to function as shaving gel. Can you, I don't know if there's any corporate secrets you need to keep locked down, but could you maybe clue us into the mystery behind chunky sauce?
I'll tell you what I can. And most of the time, I gotta keep things on the low down, because and how do you run a business if other people know your secrets?
Oh, absolutely.
But I gotta tell you, when we found out that we could use it as shaving material, it was a mistake. It wasn't on purpose. We would be eating little chunky pieces of chunk.
Chunk.
All the time. And then when we were like, hey, let's kind of cut the hair off that man's face, because he smells so bad, Fidler.
And you just needed to cut the hair off.
And we thought, yes, we gotta get that hair off his face. And so we went into the back and we got a spatula and we sharpened the edge, because who's got a razor on them or scissors in a store? So
when all you have is a spatula, everything looks like a burger.
We got a spatula, and we went to the back and we roughened up the edge a bit, and then we said, hey, sir, your food's gonna be ready in about 30 seconds. Do you have a tetanus shot? And he said yes. And so we got to work and we were scraping on the side of his face
with a spatula.
And when we were scraping, we were like, but we're so hungry. We gotta keep up appearances. So I start shoving chunks and chunks of chunkiness in my face mouth. And some sauce falls on his face, and he was like, holy hell, I just came. And so this is how it starts. We think, wow, we're prying at this man's face with a rusty, gritted spatula. And he just came. We're onto something here.
That's astounding.
Yes.
And you're putting that on food.
Yeah.
And wow.
We found it only has the effects of miracle orgasmic forms if it's on your skin, not in your body. If it's in your body, it's bad. It hurts. But it tastes pretty good.
All right. So you're really just going for the taste here, and not necessarily the health or sanitation of your consumers.
Well, the thing I told you, when I was growing up, I put a lot of everything I thought while I was growing up into chunk sauce. I thought, I'm hungry, so I'm gonna make it taste good. A lot of people hit me and abused me, so I made sure that it hurt when you would swallow it. A lot of people told me that I would never satisfy a woman, so I made sure when you put it on your skin, you would satisfy anybody.
So in a sense, chunky sauce is your personal revenge against a lifetime of abuse and ridicule.
Chunky sauce is a sauce form of my childhood.
And here it all is. Now let's to sort of move away from that point of conversation a bit, maybe even for the safety and stomach level of our listeners.
No.
Now, I have my laptop open here, and I'm on Kickstarter.com, and I see that there is a Kickstarter project going up under the Chunky Burger name, and it's got your name, Wolfgang Amadeus Chunk, right here on it. Chunk. And there seems to be, pictures of your burgers and pictures of the salons where you give these straight razor shaves, but it's filed under the dance category on Kickstarter. And I could just go into the product description, but I think it's interesting to hear that from you. What is Chunky Burger taking a foray into the movement arts?
Well, Hey, Fidler, have you ever seen Romeo and Juliet?
Yes, the critically acclaimed play by William Shakespeare. Yes, I have.
William Shatner. He made this thing happen in the beginning of the book, or the movie and the musical. All of them. He would.
The radio drama.
Have this thing where they were at a dance, and I thought, okay, and so I made sure that when people came into Chunky Burger, they might fall in love with someone that they're not supposed to love, family-wise.
Star-crossed lovers.
I thought, these people smell so goddamn bad, and they're so hairy and sweaty, and they eat so unhealthy. They're never gonna get laid unless they got chunk sauce, TM, and R, whatever the R is. I've never looked into what the R is.
The C as well, I think.
Yes, and the percent symbol.
And an asterisk.
No, that sounds good. Yeah,
throw it on there.
Anyway, and we would
time to dance.
we would make sure that all these chunky people would come in.
Absolutely.
And
I can tell that this is an emotional subject for you.
If we make it a dance form, if there's even one semi-attractive person in that place, oh my God, fireworks will be blowing up this joint. And so, it all really started when I was like, hey, what if we had a dance-a-thon? And whoever wins the dance-a-thon can keep eating here. This is really the whole goal. Is just all for the thrill of it type of thing.
Absolutely.
And they were like, what? Wait a minute, you enjoy dance? I was like, well, I mean, dabble a little bit. Have you noticed that Chunky sauce makes people bounce? It's because in my childhood I danced. And then we kind of brought this up to everyone else that was working there at the time, and we say, hey, we're going to start making everyone that comes in here order a Chunky Burger, they're going to have to dance for it. And we would literally make people dance for their rations.
And they would, mind you, they'd still have to also pay for the burger.
They'd pay, dance, and come.
Exactly. Really is just a check down the list experience.
Yes, and it was pretty much, hey, here's my childhood in about 30 seconds. It's going to be a bit overwhelming, but it's going to taste okay.
Yeah, Chunky Burger is just going to bring you inside the mind and the past of Wolfgang Amadeus Chunk. So with that sort of dance, I see Chunky Burger sort of taking a step into the courtship game. But that doesn't appear to be the only ship in Chunky Burger's future, maybe even a spaceship. Now, I wanted to talk about these rumors with you because... as you know, NASA has plans to start a moon colony in the near future to sort of combat the problems of overpopulation here on Earth. And, of course, with the creation of a colony, people are figuring out housing and how systems of the economy is going to work up there. And it was recently rumored that you have a contract with NASA that Chunky Burger will be the first restaurant on the moon.
Yes.
Now, in a country with, all these giants in the fast food industry like McDonald's and Burger King, how'd you nab that contract, Wolfgang? How is Chunky Burger going to be the first restaurant on the moon?
Well, there are two reasons why this is coming. Whoa, give me a second.
Take your time, Mr. Chunk.
Chunk. There are two reasons mainly why, and this is because of my childhood. We can start with the mindset of everything is A-okay up there for people that don't necessarily know. It's like my sauce is a teacher for people. They go through all the bullying and not having girlfriends.
It's like that scene at the end of Ratatouille where the food critic tries the food and it turns him into a little French boy.
It's almost exactly like that, except it's not made by Pixar. It's made by whoever made the goddamn Lion King knockoff. And then... the other side is we've test driven not a spaceship but a pirate ship. Where we would take a pirate ship, put it on the water, and we say it's Chunk, And every time someone was near us, we would yell, "Chunk!" And they would be like, "What's this?" And then we was incoming, and then we'd fire so much chunk sauce and chunk patties out of the cannon.
Interesting.
And we'd hit them, and oh my god, it was way more brutal than we thought. And it was a great idea, in my opinion, because it goes to show you that not having the food can kill you. And so we got to get it to you faster. And I know your listeners might say, Wolfie Chunk Man, why are you saying that your food might help people not die? Because you did
in fact kill people.
You killed people, but
fired out of a cannon at
yeah,
high velocity.
You killed them. That's the whole thing. That's the whole story.
And that takes us to space.
Yes, because we thought, well, if we had more space between us and the people we fire at, then the velocity would slow down, and then it would just reach them at normal consumption pace.
So, in your effort to get... So besides also serving food to people on the moon...
We found the middleman.
So you're going to also fire...
We started on ground. That didn't work.
Got it.
So we need to start in the moon, where if we were on ground on the moon, since the gravity is less, our firing rate, which was 200 miles per hour, which is twice as fast as a baseball, just in general.
Yeah, that's a good
goes,
benchmark for measuring 100 miles per hour.
A little bit above a baseball.
Yeah, you know, maybe Derek Jeter's been working his glutes.
With chunks. Now, if you take us onto the moon where there's less gravity, we're going to reach you at a healthy consumption pace. Not to mention, it's going to be precise portions. Like, it's going to separate, and it's going to float to you. And like, you bite, and then when you're ready for the next bite, that's when the next chunk is getting there. And so, we're going to take the middleman in there and consume the idea of a pirate ship in space. We're gonna take
space pirates.
We're gonna take the exact pirate ship we built. We're gonna put it in space.
No, you're not gonna change it at all to make it sort of more resilient to.
We might paint it orange, but that's it.
Orange does look good on the moon.
Yes, and we're going to put it right there in between the moon and the Earth, and we're gonna just fire the cannon again. And I know what you're thinking, Zaby Jeebins.
That's your childhood nickname, right? Zaby Jeebins. They called you Wolfgang Amadeus Zaby Jeebins Chunk.
They used to call me Wolfie Chunk Man, Zaby Jeebins, because of how many times I would talk about the zabia, because nobody taught me the female anatomy.
Exactly. So everything's just.
And that's why every time you come with chunky chunk sauce, you cry a little bit.
Exactly. You know, it comes with the disconnect. Right
and
there.
some people would say, Zaby Jeebins, gosh damn it, why is it that you're saying when you shoot your food at other people on the ground, you're going to kill them like that? We're going to say, no, we're going to need to bring that up. But if you shoot it from space, it's going to not only come in a little bit faster, but it's going to be on fire when it enters the atmosphere.
That's true. It can burn up upon re-entry.
Well, not only is that healthier because we're burning off the fat of the chunk burger, but also it's going to be well cooked. And
that's true.
When it reaches you, you're already going to have moved out of the way. Because just don't be an idiot. Just don't let it hit you.
Exactly. And I mean, if you're going to get blasted by a chunk burger instead of moving out of the way, you don't deserve that chunky goodness.
Well, that is what she said.
Indeed. And it's what you said too, Wolfgang.
Yeah, no, I went through some changes.
Hey, that's all right. You know, it's a changing world out there. That's gonna about wrap it up for us here on the program. Wolfgang Amadeus Chunk, magnate of Chunky Burger, home of the Chunky Burger Straight Razor Shave, and he's taking burgers to the moon. Thanks for being on the program, Chunk.
Thanks for having me, Chunk.
All right, someone get this man to a hospital, and we'll be right back.
If a homeless man asks for apple juice, he's really just got diabetes, or he wants some meth. Welcome back. I am your host Zane, and today with me I have a very important person in the modern world nowadays. And if you don't know him, oh, you're gonna love to get to know him. Everything you've ever said in your entire life, prepare to boost that eroticism of that word by 10 times, because this man is a professional word dazzler, and And in case you were wondering, just a little side note on him, he is very important. He actually was nominated Time Magazine's most geographically misplaced man of the year. Please, if you wouldn't, be so kind as to help me welcome Harbin Bloom.
That is indeed my name.
Yes.
I was born Harbin Bloom, I am Harbin Bloom, and I'll be Harbin Bloom until the heat death of the universe.
Harbin Bloom.
You've got it,
Now,
Zane.
I would like to talk to you about something. So,
Of course, Zane Thew, take it away.
now there is this little thing known as a word, which we all say from time to time.
Exactly.
But
They're the building blocks of sentences.
So you dazzle words?
That I do, Zanuel.
Do you want to explain to the people who don't know how to dazzle words how you dazzle a word?
Well, of course, I'd be happy to. Now, you've got your morphemes and your phonemes, with which you form words like gluing macaroni to a piece of paper. But you know, I've always looked at words and I've said, these words, they simply aren't fantastic enough, Zane Tholomew. They need that extra burst that just brings them over the edge linguistically.
Very true.
And the way that I've decided to do this is that sometimes in my writing, I drop in a little bit of an extra phoneme to bring the words really to that bedazzling edge.
All right.
For you see, I have a pet at home, and the word I used to use for this pet was a dog, because he is of the caninula species.
Right.
And the other day I decided that he needed some bedazzling, and now he's my drog. As you see, we've sort of airdropped the R there at the beginning of the word, and it makes you see the sound, the word dog itself.
Yes.
It's been used so much and it's so ubiquitous in our lives that we
Right.
hear dog and it has that burst that just makes you think of a dog. But when you hear drog, there's a sort of there's a chink in the pipe, as it were, a clink in the pipe, and you get some of that image of dog, but you also hear that dr in the beginning, and it's like, hang on, what's this new bedazzled word that's suddenly been entering my ear tubes? And so it's the same general image. I couldn't go and call him a smearp, because that word just doesn't suggest dog at all. It suggests some sort of worm that lives on your jodhpurs and eats holes in them. But if I call it a drog, it's similar enough, but it has that extra bedazzling that any word would just benefit from getting.
Oh, very beautiful.
I just did that
get
right now.
chills. Speaking
that
of
happened in medias res.
You are so just beautiful with words. Just on the
Thank
spot,
you.
you can make a word magnificent.
Oh, you're too kind, Zainthuzela.
In that context, I would love to throw some words at you right now and just dazzle away. All right?
Go for it. Let me warm up my language orbs.
Please, by all means.
I actually have some tongue stretches I can do, so let me just do
Go
some
ahead.
of those. Hit me, Zane Killer.
I think I'm very glad that everyone on the podcast got to audibly see how you just
For
did
just
tongue
a few
stretches.
seconds, they lived inside of my mouth.
And I'm positive that they loved every second of it and
Absolutely.
didn't turn off the radio.
Oh no. I'd say they're rather turned on the radio, Zane, can't you?
All right, let's throw some words at you. How about rhinoceros?
Prinoceros.
Ooh.
You see, it's a rhinoceros, but sometimes it wants to know that little extra bit of information about your personal life.
Ah, a prime.
A prinoceros.
Very beautiful. I love it. How about squash?
Squash. This squash knows what it wants, and it's not afraid to wage war against your vegetables.
Beautiful. Oh, it's so elegant.
One more. Let's make it a rule of three,
All right,
shall we?
rule of three. How about Thumbelina?
Tongan. Now you see the differences between the words there are a little larger than they usually was. I was a little ambitious on that one, because everyone knows the story of Thumbelina.
But Tongan Tongan is actually her South African cousin. It's a very similar tale, but it comes from South Africa. There's really no more story to it than that, Zane Hosafat.
Oh, Tonga Tonga. I'm glad I've learned a story that I didn't even know.
I'm glad you've learned it too.
Not only am I learning words, I'm learning experiences.
Exactly.
This is
That's
a glorious,
what thought ought to be.
a glorious day for all of us. So, now I know you dazzle words themselves.
I dabble in dazzling.
Have you ever just stepped outside the comfortable circle and dazzled the meaning of the word as well?
Interesting. Well, I like to think that with the change of the word itself, the meaning also gets a little bit dazzled, such as the rhinoceros.
Has there ever been a word that it's elegant enough on its own, but the meaning needs a bit more oomph?
Interesting. I've indeed dabbled in that as well. But you understand that the word has to be so beautiful on its own.
Right.
So
Which
that
I'm sure there are only like
there
4.
really can't be that much more dazzling that gets done with the word.
Interesting.
For example, take the word delicious.
Right.
Now, delicious is just a delicious word. There's no real other way to describe that. But you know, delicious can be applied to so many different kinds of food.
Very
a
true.
burger can be delicious. A soda shake can be delicious. A fried tarantula can be delicious. But in order to bedazzle the meaning, you have to start with the sounds and words that make up the word as it is. And so you'll notice that the word delicious starts with the letters D-E-L-I, which of course makes the word that's also the beginning of the word a delicatessen. So, you take the meaning of the word delicious, which means a tasty food, and you bring it around to specifically mean tasty foods ordered from the delicatessen. So if you eat a casserole that just takes you out of your socks, and you decide to call it delicious, the word doesn't need any extra bedazzling because you've already put that little spice of delicatessen in there from the words deli.
Magnificent.
Magnificent indeed.
I love
Zane
how
Thazar.
I love how a lot of these words really just need an R thrown in there near the beginning.
R is just, it's such a consonant that's just dripping with bedazzlement. My R's and my L's especially.
You know, just as an example, I would love to hear how you bedazzle the word grape.
Grape. Interesting. Because you see, that's already got the R in there. It's already a little bit of a bedazzled word. Let me see if I can throw another consonant on there. Graped.
Now
that becomes a past tense verb.
I was going to ask if that was a D or a T.
You eat a grape and you've been graped. It needs another one though, because that's got some problematic connotations that you just don't want in your bedazzling.
Right. It sounds like someone at Chunky Burger would have been graped.
I'm thinking I could play with vowels here, and that always gets exciting.
Oh.
Grouped? Why, I've done it. You've been grouped? That's what happens when you're with a gang of your friends and you're sharing frozen grapes with each other. And you're struck by the dual sensation not only of the tasty frozen grape, which I absolutely recommend to anyone with a freezer, but you're also just so glad that to be surrounded by a circle of your friends, and my dears, you've been grouped.
Now, just as a little side note, when you take a word such as grouped, and you've used that as the bedazzled form of grape. What happens to the word grouped?
What happens to the word that already exists that's called grouped, you mean? Zane Coleman, it's been erased from existence.
Oh, you're rewriting the dictionary.
Exactly. You see, grouped is such an unnecessary word because the word group is very rarely used as a verb, grouping things together. It's almost like bedazzling the meaning. It's sort of a dual connotation. Not only have I removed an existing word with sort of a banal meaning, I've bedazzled an existing word into another existing word, and as such, I've bedazzled a new meaning for it. I've got a lot of plates spinning here, Zane Hosafat.
I'm very glad I asked, actually, because that explains a lot as to why I run so
I'm
dry in the
glad
mind.
you asked as well.
Well, that runs my closet out of ideas.
Doesn't it?
Now, I have to ask. So we've gone through you're an amazing dazzler. You dazzle us with dazzling
I'm a
words.
dazzle smith.
Now, I do have to ask, because this happened recently. Time Magazine.
As events often do.
Well, events sometimes do, sometimes postponing.
Sometimes they frappen. That is, if they happen while you're drinking a delicious milkshake.
I see what you did there. Now, I have to ask. Time Magazine had awarded you the Geographically Misplaced Man of the Year.
You'll find it's most geographically misplaced.
Yes,
I don't settle for just boring old superlatives. I was the most geographically misplaced man.
Can I ask, from how you're talking about it, was this a goal of
Oh,
yours?
absolutely. I've been working on this for decades, Zane Mantha. Because the title of most geographically displaced man is such a difficult one to attain. Because you can't just travel everywhere and be the world's most traveled man. It's the effort of being misplaced that's so difficult. You need to, for example, get on a flight to Timbuktu or to South Africa to hear the tale of Tongan Tongan. And the plane has to end up in a completely wrong place. And it's not enough to tinker with the machinery of the plane so that it has to make an emergency stop, because that's not really being misplaced. You've had a hand in that.
Right.
You really need to be the chew toy of fate, as it were, to have travel plans go so wrong over and over again that you end up being misplaced as often as you do.
May
so
I ask, now,
may.
when making your plans, do you by chance dazzle your plans?
Dazzling my plans.
And does that lead to the situational differences you in the airport come across from time to time?
It often does, and I think that's how I've stepped upon this particular title, because the names of the places that I'm going to, you know, it's only now that I've come across this, because if I did have that sort of mind thought earlier on, they wouldn't be considered as much of a mistakes as they are. But now that you say this, I think if I've just presented myself in a confusing manner through no fault but my own. For example, if I buy a ticket to Texas, but I decide that the word Texas needs a little bit of a bedazzling, and I decide instead to go to Bexus, why, Delta Airlines just has no idea where to send me. They put me on a flight to Prague. They say, who is this man, Mr. Bloom, that wants to go on a flight to Bexus? We need to get Mr. Harbin Bloom as far away from us as possible. Let's send him to Prague. So in a way, I've sort of dug my own grave in my travel plans, not even knowing. I just assume that people immediately grok the vibes of my bedazzled words and send me to where it is that I want to go. But I've just instead made myself the world's most bedazzled and misplaced man, because not only do I bedazzle my words, I apparently also bedazzle the world.
Very fascinating. Now, when you need to fly somewhere for plans,
Exactly.
Now, is this really just a travel for leisure and pleasure, or are you just a very unreliable man?
I think it's just very possible. You know, we live in a society where language, Zane Mantha, dictates so much of what it is that we do, and this is how language works. But in my crusade to punch up and bedazzle the English language, it's very possible that I've just turned myself into a very difficult to understand man. Do you know, it's sometimes when I'm grocery shopping and I need to buy some flour to make my biscuits.
Right.
I.e. flour. Flour, it does have that sort of edge of having that just tasty vowel in the middle of the ow. But flour needs a little bit more, so I go and I order some flour. Because flour you have that unfortunate thing where there's the sort of a second syllable that's thrown in there.
Right.
Like how some people think fire is 2 syllables.
Oh,
because
right.
it has the fi and it has the if you're not really filling your jaws with that vowel, the fire.
Right.
And so people think flower is 2 syllables, and I need to add that extra bit of bedazzling that will make people appreciate it as the 1 syllable word that it is, like clown.
Right.
So I go and I put my bag of all-purpose flour on top of the little conveyor belt that is at most supermarkets, and I say, I'd like this bag of flour. Now, keep in mind, this isn't as bad as the Bexis debacle.
Right.
Because the flour is
Yes.
is there on the conveyor belt.
It's on the table.
They can clearly tell that I'm purchasing what they call flour.
Right.
So it's less of a my whole biscuit evening has been ruined, but it's more of that delicious second where the person at the checkout market just looks up at me and says, they don't even say it out loud. They think for a minute, does this very silly sounding person not know what flour is called? And then they put that in the back of their head and they're like, very well, Mr. Bloom, I will put this in a bag for you. But for just a delicious second, there's that public confusion where they just look at me and they're like, I don't think this is a very smart man. And it's that moment of dawning discomfort that I just live for, Zane Bot
Really?
3000.
That's fascinating. I didn't know that was...
Fascinating indeed.
I love it. I didn't know that this was a thrill for you. I thought it was just a passion.
Oh, can't it be both, Zaneathon?
You tell me. What would your word for a passionate thrill be?
Passionate thrill. Prelashionate. See, that's easy because you just take the parts of the
That's
words.
very easy.
It's prelashionate. You just pretend that you've got 2 lumps of Play-Doh of different colors and you go ahead and you squish them together. You just yachts your hands up on that pliable Play-Doh and you end up with a word like prelashionate.
It's beautiful. Really.
Now, it also sounds like it could be the state of someone's physical being. Like, oh, their throat has started prelashionating, you need to give me a scalpel. But really, that's just a meaning that I haven't quite bedazzled yet. But
Right.
Believe me, I'll get right on that.
And is it true that you yourself are working... Now, I know you rewrite the dictionary as is now.
Exactly.
But is it true you are, and we necessarily don't need to discuss how we got this information, but that you are writing your own dictionary, not necessarily like a second dictionary, but you are, in a sense, rewriting the history of words.
Exactly. Because you see, while all these dictionaries, and really, you'll figure this out once you watch the spelling bee with all the young children.
Right, which I do.
The most boring thing about a word is its etymologies.
Yes.
You know, you've got a wonderful word like delicious, or flown, or cheese. You don't want to get all caught up in, oh yes, this word came from the Danish root for go fuck yourself. It wastes so much time. So I'm writing a dictionary. Instead of going into the etymology of the words, below each word, it instead goes for that thing that... Now, here's what I like about the spelling bees that's not used in the dictionary and what I'm trying to fix. Using the word in a sentence. Not enough dictionaries do this.
Right.
So, for example, under the definition for sifter, which of course, as you know, is used to sift dry ingredients into a pie. Instead of going into the word sifter comes from the Latin root to go jump off a building, it says, here's an example of sifter used in a sentence. When Bartholomew was reaching for the sifter atop the fridge to de-chunk his flour, he got a nice stretch in his quadriceptuals as he did so. And not only does that really tie you into the meaning of the word, It just gives the experience of reading the word that little bit of drippy bedazzle that it needed.
This is beautiful information. I look forward to this dictionary so much. I can't wait until my sentences...
Until you just become as confusing as I am.
Until I end up somewhere in the world for what? You only have to pay for the ticket of going to Bexus. But you end up in Prague? That is a pretty stealing
Well,
flight.
I'll have to keep myself nice and sharp if you're going to compete for the title of world's most geographically placed man. Zane, Bobane, Banana Fana, fabulous.
Well... Thank you, Fidler.
I've already seen you've got that tone of voice going already. It appears I've infected you.
I'm trying. I think I could... Let me see. If I could create a word.
Let's do a little bit of the reverse pro crow of what we did earlier.
All right.
I'm going to give you a pedestrian word.
Please.
And I want you to do your best shot at bedazzling it. Here we go. Camera.
How about Cap Shack?
Cap shack. Very interesting. Now, you mean a cap shack is instead of as sort of bringing up a camera as this sort of shack in which the capturing happens?
As in, it is a shack on its own. A shack, which it's
I
not
love this tone you're taking.
necessarily, yes, when said in this tone.
Exactly.
It doesn't
the
come
bedazzling just does that.
It
doesn't
come across as just some shack. It comes across as a shack. It is a storage unit
cap shack.
in which it captures moments.
The shack of captures, as
A
it were.
cap shack.
Exactly.
Another one, as DJ Khaled.
Well, I believe my work here is done. I've converted you fully.
Well, thank you for
You're
joining us.
very welcome.
I love it. And thank you for listening to Welcome Back. This has been Zane Bobane Banana Nana. Fuck yourself.
And I'm Fidler, and now I'm the normal one. What have I wrought?
There were a lot of moments in that one that you kind of fucked my head up, and I loved it. You went from an intellectual human being to a man who was just displaced from society.
Exactly. We really bungled ourselves on this one.
Yeah, no, I bumbled a lot when I was talking. You had a good storyline, and then I almost called you your name at the end.
Harbin Bloom.
In both contexts, I almost said my name, and I almost said your name.
Oh, I'm sure I could have done something with Fidler, but that's for another podcast.
I was going to, but then we made Cap Shack.
Cap Shack, that was all we needed to clear that off.
All right. Beautiful. Thank you for listening, and listen to next time where we will welcome you back to
Welcome back.
Welcome you back to Welcome Back. See you soon.